All right, you guys ready? Let's talk about the non-linear nature of trading. And so when we start thinking about convexity, you start thinking about just these crazy moves and kind of what we do on a daily basis, a lot of what we do is very non-linear in nature. And so the way our minds typically work, we kind of think in like a linear fashion. Like if I do A, then B is going to come and it's going to be kind of like a smooth ride or like a smooth line. But the reality is in the markets with a lot of things, it's not linear. Like it actually, like there's jumps in the function. It's not that smooth. And so you kind of have to get used to dealing with the non-linear aspect of the markets. How do you guys approach that on a daily basis? Like understanding what you're doing is not going to necessarily be smooth from start to finish.
So I like what you bring because you actually show how the sausage is made. I'm actually a person who doesn't want to know how it's made, and I don't. So I'm always like, okay, have never thought about this. I've never looked at this, and that's why you are the best teacher this side of the Mississippi. I don't know what happens on the other side, but you're the best this side of the Mississippi.
I can tell you what happens on the other side, and it's hot.
I don't know if
Because
I
when I
want to
went to the
know.
University of Memphis for grad school, Jamal,
Yeah.
have you been down there too?
I grew up in Miami. I lived in Columbia, South Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. I went to school in Atlanta, Georgia. I know. Yeah, I know.
Man, it's hot. It's hot. I was in Memphis, Tennessee for 4.5 years working on my doctoral degree. And I mean, I don't think I took a single breath for 4.5 years. Like
Yeah.
you
Wait,
couldn't breathe outside.
Was that Dr. Wood?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Dr. Wood was my he was my dissertation chair.
Yes, that was where Dr. Wood
Doc,
was. Okay.
Dr. Wood, right. Liz is referencing one of my famous on the road live stories about Dr. Wood. That's right. Yeah, in Memphis. And so yeah, man, it was crazy down there. I mean, I loved the time, but it was so hot. Oh my gosh. Hottest place on earth, not even close. Now, Jamal, now I hear Miami's pretty hot though. Is Miami pretty hot?
Yeah, Miami's pretty hot. Atlanta and Charlotte are hotter. I mean, they're landlocked. You know what I mean? So that's the
Yep.
thing. Like oh my God, me and my friends would get up at like, when I was in high school, in the summers, we'd get up at like 6 a.m. to play basketball and try to be done by like 11 because the heat's coming afternoon, So yeah, it's crazy.
Right, exactly, exactly. And so I think the landlocked nature of it's what really kind of gets you. But yeah, so the nonlinear nature of things. Jamal, how do you think about this on a daily basis? Do you think about this?
I don't think about it. It is in the back of my head, and I'm thinking about decay. I'm thinking about it, especially when, again, I bought SpaceX calls today, right? And so I'm thinking about it from the terms of like there's some convexity to the upside, and it is going to decay. But I'm hoping that this thing moves faster than the decay is going to take advantage of it. Clearly, I'm in a 2-day window, so I have to think about decay. So I think about it loosely, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, okay. And this is kind of the first way that the nonlinearity really shows up with theta decay. And so whether you're buying the options or selling the options, this is something you want to be aware of. Obviously, as time goes by, the extrinsic value is going to dissipate. I mean, every option trader is familiar with that. I mean, beginning option traders, you guys are going to learn the hard way that the extrinsic value goes away when you get closer to expiration, or I guess it would be the easy way if you're on the short side of the contract. But the decay is not going to be the same depending on the moneyness of the actual contract. And so this is something that really has informed kind of our approach over the years in terms of managing early, 21 days to go and getting out of trades early, especially the undefined risk trades. Because as you see, I mean, basically, look, I mean, essentially anywhere between 60 and 30. Like if you look at that blue curve, those are your out of the money options.
Yeah.
Notice how the premium and the slope of the line specifically, notice how that is changing. It's not changing in a linear way. It's changing in a very nonlinear way. And so you can see, hopefully you can see fairly clearly that the premium is starting to really fall off the options between 60 and 30, let's say. And so that could make a case for like getting in at 52, 54, getting in at 45, getting in at 40, anywhere in that range. I think you're in a pretty good spot. But notice what happens once you get inside 30. And if we really like zoomed in on like the very end, like that curve is going to flatten out even more. And so you're actually not getting paid for the risk that you're taking like you were earlier in the cycle. And so when you start thinking about how long do I want to hold these trades, man, a very strong statistical case can be made for getting out early. Now that could be 21, it could be 14, it could be whatever you want it to be, but holding all the way to the end, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when we get to the next slide. But let's not get there yet. What do you guys think about this when you think about decay and moneyness? And I mean, this is kind of why we do what we do.
It's inherent though, Jim. This is something that I don't even think about anymore because I know at 21 days till expiration, because you know the theta decay curve, exactly what you're talking about. It becomes diminishing returns if you're holding on to it until the bitter end. So that's why we manage early. And I like that you said it could be 21 days, it could be 14 days, because that's all relative. But we know it's going to be probably somewhere in that time frame,
Yep,
which is selling premium.
that's right. Jamal, what do you think?
Yeah, that's why I had to define a couple of years back where the areas that I work well, and I've always known it's somewhere between 3 and 6 months. That's the areas that I work well, and it's for that reason. Like Liz says, it's inherent for us now at this point. But I'm loosely thinking about the decay curve and how my options, whatever positions I have, are going to be affected.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so, if you're brand new to the network, hey, welcome aboard. I hope you stick around. But it's like you hear us talk about selling premium all the time. You hear us talking about managing early all the time. This is one of the statistical reasons why we do that. And it is the moneyness and it is the non-linearity of the decay. Well, the second area of nonlinearity, and this is going to be very relevant, as you mentioned a couple minutes ago, Jamal, for anybody that's trading SpaceX today. I mean, this is part of the reason why you're trading SpaceX, for that gamma, for that accelerated move, and that potentially convex relationship with the directional move. This is specifically related to moneyness to kind of map into the previous slide, but it's also true. Like if you're trading like a June OPEX, which is Thursday because Friday is the holiday, you've only got 2 days left. And so the gamma in those options is going to be really supercharged. And so if you get the move that you want, you can obviously have a nice little payday if you're trading it from the long side.
Right.
But again, from a directional standpoint, when you look at gamma with moneyness, those at the money options are going to be extremely rich when it comes to gamma. The short dated options are going to be extremely rich when it comes to gamma. And so if we look at this relationship, again, it's not linear. And so you look at delta, that sort of gives you kind of like a linear representation of, okay, if the stock moves by $1, this is how much I'm going to get paid. That does show you what the next dollar looks like, but it doesn't show you what the dollars after that look like, because those are going to be impacted by gamma, because gamma goes in and changes delta. And so the way I like to think about it is delta is like the first layer of directional risk. Gamma is the second layer of directional risk. Delta is the speed of your directional risk. Gamma is the acceleration of your directional risk. And so once you start bringing in acceleration, which kind of by definition is a second derivative, linearity is out the window, man. Like we're not talking about linear things anymore. These are going to move around in some rather unexpected ways. And so that's why looking at these graphs, whether it be moneyness, whether it be time to expiration, can be really helpful for us to understand, kind of what we're getting ourselves into.
Yeah, 100%.
Agreed. It's a good visual representation of it.
Yeah. And, you put these two things together, right? It's like, okay, the first slide was like, all right, probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to hold the trade too close to expiration. Okay. Now you look at the second slide, which this is moneyness, but again, near expiration, you're going to see the same relationship. It's like, all right, that directional risk is really picking up steam. And if I'm on the short side of the contract and I've been trying to collect the decay, it doesn't make a ton of sense to hang on in the final week of expiration, because now I'm going to have to absorb a ton of directional risk to do that.
Right. Right. All right. Takeaways?
Takeaways? I mean, let's go. Let's do it. Normally, when we think about any variables changing over time, we gravitate towards a linear relationship in our minds. But most of human behavior and market results actually operates on a non-linear scale, just as we see with premium decay and with position direction. And I would actually even say, like, our own results are very non-linear. Like day to day, they're all over the map. Like it's a scatter plot. Yeah. So.
There's scatter plot. And good job, Dr. Jim. I really like this.
Fantastic job, man. When I hear that word linear, I always think of linear algebra. I like that class. Boy.
Oh, man. Did you like it? Oh, man. I struggled, bro. I struggled. Nobody likes that class. Dude, you are an outlier, man.
Nobody likes that class.
Well, I was an engineer once upon a time. We're a little bit weird. Good stuff, Jim, man. Good to see you, man. The Daily Skinny, awesome as always. Jim always does his thing, man. He is the best teacher out there as far as new people. There's nobody better for sure.
No, there isn't anybody
Even
better.
the S&P's down 11, 76.14. NASDAQ down 200 still, and the Russell negative. All three of those are negative. The only one up, the Dow. That's right. It's your father's Dow. That's the only one that's up, folks.